What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. Chris Pennell here. We're back in the States this week as we travel to the mountains for the Great American Getaway 400 at Pocono Raceway. It's a large triangular shaped track. Sometimes there's good racing, sometimes there's not. There can be fuel strategy. The other reason I like it is because my favorite drivers are good here. Denny Hamlin has 7 or 8 wins if you want to count the DQ, and Ryan Blaney has a couple himself. So we'll see how the racing is, but let's just hope for the best. But anyway, if this happens to be your first time here, what's up? My name is Chris Pennell. I break down NASCAR DFS each and every single week on this channel. Videos on Saturdays, live streams on Sunday, planning for around PM Eastern, so be there, be square, always a good time. If you do end up enjoying today's video, make sure you leave a like down below, subscribe channel for brand new. Let's dive right into it. All right, let's talk some strategy here for Pocono. Like I said, triangular shaped track. It's huge. It's 2.5 miles in length, which means dominator points aren't going to be quite abundant because you only have 160 laps. That's less than about 100 dominator points, so not many to go around. And the builds at Pocono sometimes can be like a road course, similar to last week. Now, there is more laps, so there's obviously going to be more of an emphasis on dominator points. I remember, I think a few years ago, I think it was actually the year that Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin both got disqualified. They were starting 1-2 or 1-3, and I played both of them. I probably wouldn't do that at a road course, but I did at Pocono, and I think that would be fine to do again if the numbers tell us we can. Like if Denny Hamlin starts second, leads 100 laps, finishes second or third, maybe even wins, we're going to want that in our lineup. So PD, finishing position, dominator points, you just want that nice combination of it this week. But we could see fuel strategy, also could see some pit strategy, things like that. That Pocono does open the door for that, so be aware that it is possible. And I wouldn't say we really have any similar tracks. Of course, we do have Indy, although we got rid of that for a few years, finally returned last season. And I believe it was just like the same guys that are fast at Pocono or fast at Indy. I forgot who won that race. I want to say it was almost Ryan Blaney, but I think Kyle Larson won because he had fuel at the end and nobody else did. But I would say Indy is the best choice you have as a comparable track, but I am mainly looking at how drivers have performed at the intermediate style tracks this year, because I just really don't think there's going to be too much of a discrepancy of the drivers that were fast at those tracks that'll be fast once again, considering they are using the same left side tire that they've used at almost every intermediate this year. So looking at our first figure, I'm going to show you 3, but this is just how the drivers have performed at intermediates this year specifically. And then we'll look at Pocono next, then I want to look at some green flag speed numbers at the intermediates as well. But this has not changed. As you can see, William Byron once again holds the throne. He is the king of consistency at these track types. I don't know how he has not won yet. It makes no sense to me. I keep betting him to win at like 800 plus 900, and he just keeps choking at the end. You know, sometimes it's not his fault, and he ran out of gas, and then we had the Ross Chastain, Joey Logano lap down. It is what it is. But no one qualifies better, practices better, runs better during the race, and leads laps, I guess, on a consistent basis, because Kyle Larson can be very hit or miss. Like a lot of times he is wrecking out of the race. When he's not, he's usually up front dominating, but I mean, William Byron doesn't do that. He is the king of consistency, and that's why I like playing him and betting him every week, because at some point it's just going to happen. So I will, and the team's great. I mean, there's just no complaints with William Byron. Other guys, they tend to be a little bit all over the place when it comes to qualifying. Blaney doesn't usually qualify that well. Denny Hamlin sometimes does not. They don't always show up in practice either. Larson, Tyler Reddick. I mean, they're in that next tier. They're all very good. They'll be contenders, but no one's been as consistent as William Byron. But the Fords have been very strong at these tracks this year. As you can see, Blaney's up there, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, even Josh Berry. I know it looks like he's a little bit further down, but that's just because he's in that clump, and it actually pushed him out. So he's actually right beside Joey Logano. They've all ran just about the exact same, although Ryan Blaney is definitely, I would say, a tier above them as far as being able to dominate and win, even though they pretty much all have almost won or have won this year or at intermediate tracks. Now, if we look at Pocono specifically, less of a sample size. We're talking only 3 races in the next gen era. But Denny Hamlin's at the very top. He has just been a god here. He has 8 wins, 7, I guess, if you take away the DQ. And in the next gen era, he has finished first, second, excluding that DQ. I'm going to say he finished first because I feel like he probably just would have won anyway. Who cares? Piece of tape. So Hamlin's in a tier of his own. It's a unique track, so I mean, he's a veteran. It just happens to go well. And last time we had a full strategy race, he did win, so that's also a bump for him. Then you have Byron, no surprise there. Reddick, Elliott, it's the same guys. The same guys that are fast intermediates. What do you know? They're also have been fast at Pocono in the next gen era so far. And the last thing I want to look at, I post these on Twitter, so if you guys want to see these earlier in the week instead of waiting until Saturday, they'll be on there. But anyway, this is the green flag speed on this tire that they are using this weekend. And Blaney and Larson are tied at the top. William Byron, like once it's just the same drivers that keep showing up. But I'm pretty impressed with these Penske numbers. Cindric is up there, Josh Berry, Joey Logano, which it does kind of coincide with the chart that we just looked at. I mean, it's no surprise the green flag speed numbers are going to correlate somewhat with the average driver rating and their average running position so far this year. But these are the numbers. That's what it is. I know it's a lot of data, but it's fun to look at. So hopefully the colorful charts make it more interesting. And finally, moving on to the driver by driver breakdown. I do have to mention one thing first. Okay, let me do a plug, guys. It's a free video. Gotta feed the dog. If you guys want to join the best NASCAR DFS community out there, and I do cover baseball every single day in a similar fashion over on the website. Link is down in the description or the pinned comment for the Patreon. And if you are a completely new user to my site, you can sign up completely free for a week and test drive all the tools that I do have to offer. I won't bore you to death and go through everything here. If you want to screenshot or pause the video, be my guest, but you will not find this amount of data available anywhere else in the tools that I have to offer at these price tags. I have optimizers for DraftKings and FanDuel, and the DraftKings Contest Simulator, which is pretty much the highlight of everything. You can simulate up to 10,000 lineups at once and see how your lineups stack up the best in tournaments or cash games, or which drivers offer the best ROI before the race starts, whether you're in cash games, large field GPPs, or even single entry tournaments. And everything here is also covered, whether it be for the Truck Series, Xfinity, and Cup every single weekend. So if you want to come in, check it out. I'd love to have you. I appreciate it. And if not, that's fine. But let's dive right into it. All right, it's the next day. Practice and qualifying has concluded. And I will tell you what, we have entered a complete and utter chalk fest. As you can see, there is a ton of place differential. Several drivers that actually have chances of doing well in this race did not put down a qualifying lap. William Byron wrecked during his. We almost had Chase Elliott major chalk, but they let him redo his laps. But even then, still a decent amount of PD with him. So this is place differential heaven this weekend. Besides Denny Hamlin, that's basically what this slate is going to be. I think lineups are going to be very fun to make, but at the same time, it feels like one of those weeks where you're going to feel like, hey, I'm missing somebody that I really want in my lineup each time because there's so many good plays. But either way, let's head over to practice and see what those numbers look like. I have not yet been able to scrape the consecutive lap averages, but I mean, it's Pocono. It's not like it ran a ton of laps. It would be nice to have the 10 laps and the 5 laps really quick, but I think it's fine. Just look at the numbers that we have currently. So if we sort this just by lap data and who put down the best overall laps, there's a couple of these guys that are going to be a bit inflated, like Christopher Bell. He was having power steering issues, I believe. He only came out at the very end, was only able to run 5 laps, so he didn't have the chance to fall off. So that's why his number is much higher than the rest of these guys. Also, Cody Ware only ran 4 laps, and then Josh Berry only ran 5 laps before he killed his car. So those are just things to keep in mind, and you definitely have to. I adjust for this afterwards, but practice just ended, so just giving you guys a heads up. If we rank it how I want to look at it, just looking at their best overall lap compared to 3, 5, 10 lap averages amongst other things, William Byron was at the top of the board. I don't think anyone should have been surprised about that. If he did not wreck, I'm sure we would not be talking about him starting in the very back of the field. But unfortunately, killed the car. But I still think they're going to be fine. Chris Buescher was up there. He qualified second. But Wallace was really strong. Just couldn't get the car started for his qualifying lap for whatever reason. A couple of the Penske drivers, Blaney and Cindric up there. Reddick, no surprise. Michael McDowell, we know Spire cars always just tend to be awesome on Saturdays for whatever reason. We mentioned Christopher Bell is going to be inflated because of the lack of laps there. But I'm not surprised of the guys we see up here. Denny Hamlin was lacking a bit, but he's one of those guys I never really get too concerned about practice. But Kyle Larson, also a little bit lower. He did not qualify that well. If we look at the lap by lap data here, I believe Larson about in the same spot, but not like he was horrible, but just feels like practice the last few weeks. We have not seen Kyle Larson too high on the board. And Denny Hamlin wasn't that high either, but looked like William Byron had the car to beat, but he did kill it. So hopefully it's still fine. But with the place differential, it just makes a whole different game for DFS purposes, of course. But let's go driver by driver and break this all down. Of course, have not yet in projections or anything. That'll be in the Patreon later this evening, and the live stream tomorrow afternoon. We'll go over some more polished thoughts. But first initial reactions on the slate. So we can kind of put this in 2 groups here because we have 3 major place differential drivers and 2 guys starting inside the top 10. If you are going to play any driver up front in cash this week, the only one I think I would want to do is Denny Hamlin starting on the pole. He's obviously very good here, and if you happen to skip the whole strategy portion where I went over how good Denny Hamlin has been At Pocono, just to reiterate it, in the next gen era, 3 races, average finish of 1.3, the best running position, 2 wins, which one got disqualified, but I'm still counting it as a win. Top 5 every time, and the most laps led, and the most fast laps. So yeah, he's been very good here. So if you were going to play one driver on the pole at Pocono, Denny Hamlin would be the guy that I would use. You don't have to, I don't think, because we have Larson, Byron, and Blaney starting back half of the field. But if you were going to, Hamlin would be that man. There's just not that many laps in this race. I kind of, like I said in the strategy, it's kind of like a road course. So these hybrid plays tend to be the elite ones on paper, and that's exactly what these 3 are. No one would be surprised, despite poor qualifying efforts of Blaney, Larson, and Byron, happen to be battling the top 3 at some point in this race. Now, the question is, how do we figure out which ones are our favorite? I think based off the practice speeds, I know Byron wrecked, but starting in 31st, I think we have to go with Byron here as the number 1 option. He's the cheapest of this 3 on both sites. He offers the most place differential, and it's not like the car's going to be junk afterwards. They're going to fix it up. He'll be fine. So I'd say Byron's number 1. And then right now, I think I have a slight lean towards Blaney over Larson. I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here. Blaney is a little bit more expensive, so if you happen to have to save $200 or $500 on DraftKings or FanDuel, sure, drop to Larson. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Projections to be very similar, but from what we've seen from Blaney at these intermediate tracks this year, especially when he's in traffic, he's like one of the few guys that can pass. I think they'll be fine. He did win this race last year as well, and even dominated. So like all 3 of them a lot, but I guess my ranking would probably be Byron, Blaney, and Larson. And then Bell, I just feel like I won't get to Bell, because if I'm playing anybody up front, it's probably going to be Hamlin. And then if I'm not, I don't see any reason why I'd want to sacrifice the 20 extra place differential spots I can get from these other drivers when they can finish the same, if not better. Dropping out of the 9K range, Tyler Reddick. So I guess Tyler Reddick, we can kind of put guys I would roster inside the top 10. Other than that, not really seeing too much, because I see Daniel Suarez. I wouldn't want to do that. Hocevar starting too far up. Briscoe, no thank you. Gibbs, teeter in the line. Busher, teeter in the line, but he's 9K. Not that many laps to lead. He'd have to dominate, which is going to be tough over Hamlin. So I'd probably say Denny and Reddick would be the ones I like inside the top 10. Reddick's been very good here. And then next gen, he's been very fast at intermediates this year. Average finish of 4th in 3 races, in the top 10 every time, in the top 5, 2 out of 3 races. So Reddick and Hamlin definitely the ones that I think are probably the most appealing. And then we get to some more PD here. Chase Elliott, $9,500. He'll be starting in 18th. I like him a lot. The only issue is for $1,000 more, I can get guys starting in 31st, 24th, 20th. But I do like Chase. I did bet him for a top 10, and I have some other bets as well. But I do think Chase should be a pretty good play for where he's starting. He hasn't been a guy that has shown overwhelming speed. But at Pocono, he's been in the top 10 every time. Top 15. Yeah, does have one top 5. Technically, he won a race if you disqualify Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch from that 2022 race, but even then he finished 3rd, which is fine. So yeah, like Chase Elliott. Probably won't be the biggest fan of Logano. Ross Chastain has also not been very good at Pocono for whatever reason. One top 15 here. If we look at the practice results, looks like Ross was kind of right there with Keselowski, Bowman, and Larson. So it doesn't put him in a horrible range. He typically is able to find himself inside the top 15 on FanDuel. He's probably going to be more appealing over there at that only $8,000 price tag. So I'm okay with Ross. I would prefer him over Logano, but I think Chase Elliott's probably my favorite of the 9K group. 8K guys, looking like a lot of tournament plays here. Busher, he'll be fast. I think he had one of the best cars in practice. He has won here in the past. Of course, it was a fog race. But he's shown speed at the intermediates this year. It's just, I wish he was cheaper. Like $800 for a guy that starting in 2nd, probably won't win, and then he's probably not going to dominate the race. Just there's not that many laps, so probably won't be a good projection play. Keselowski starting in 14th. I'd prefer Brad over Busher. I'd prefer Brad over Ty Gibbs. Just very tough to trust Ty Gibbs. Does have a top 5 here, but again, I can get 7 extra spots. And then Kyle Busch is starting in 26, and if you look at the price tag on FanDuel, he's only $7,000. That's $3,000 cheaper than Keselowski, $3,500 cheaper than Busher. So I know Busch hasn't been great this year. When we factor in the price tag and the starting position, he looks pretty good over on FanDuel. He does have a top 5 here. I can't remember if it was last year when he was running well and ended up having that wreck at the end. But if he finishes top 15, I mean, he's definitely in play on both sites. 7K range, I'm going to have to skip out on Briscoe and Hocevar. Of course, we've seen Hocevar have that race-winning speed, but There's just not much upside for where he's starting for a race like this. Bubba Wallace will be the pure chalk. I think there's 3 really good plays. So we have 2 chalkier plays with Bubba and Bowman. Love both. Bubba, of course, is going to be priority number 1. He starts 9 spots further back. Did not make a qualifying lap. Had one of the best cars in practice. He's also very good at Pocono. 2 top 10s, 3 top 15s in next gen. That's a 3A sample size. And Bowman has also been pretty good. So I like both a lot. Both similarly priced. But Austin Cindric is not a bad pivot. He was pretty fast in practice. He's been pretty fast at these intermediate style tracks. Now, his track record of Pocono in the next gen era is not that fast. Or not that great, I should say. But from what we've seen this year, I think that should be a bit of a bump for Cindric. But, of course, Wallace and Bowman are the clear-cut top 2 plays. And I've been playing Paris every single week this year. He's just underpriced. He unfortunately starting 13th. He usually starts anywhere from like 19th to 30th. So, unfortunately, the bad qualifying efforts have ended. Large field tournaments, maybe, probably more of a FanDuel play for me if I was going to get to them, but it's just a lot easier to click on Bubba and Bowman. And then Josh Berry, once we get to the 6K range, he did not make a qualifying lap. Didn't really get anything from him in practice that we can take away from. Just know he's starting in the back. He's a weekly top 15 potential driver, so you got to eat that at that price point. Suarez, I will pass on. Stenhouse, he has not been bad at Pocono, per se, for the price tag. Average finish of 20th, running position just inside the top 20. He's capable of top 20 anywhere, really. I don't know, he might just have his sights set on Carson Hocevar if they ever get close to each other and wreck him. Qualifying would indicate that he's not going to be close, but you never know with shuffling and things like that. But he's okay, but for $400 more, I mean, I'd much rather trust the 21 car than I would Hayek Motorsports. Eric Jones is very good at Pocono, always in the top 15. Hate where he's starting, unfortunately. So he'll be a pretty tough projection play despite the track history success. Michael McDowell 28th, AJ Allmendinger in 33rd. All these drivers typically run inside the top 20 at Pocono. They offer PD. Perfectly fine. I'll have to pass on SVG starting in 23rd. And then Zane and Gregson, those are really tough guys to get to starting inside the top 20. Gillen probably just won't have that much speed if we're looking at practice. I don't know where he was at. Yeah, pretty much in the back here. If we look at his numbers at intermediates this year, running position of around 24th, although it's not that good. It's only better than a few drivers. Stenhouse, SVG, then of course these bums back here. So I mean, if some guys wreck out, sure, but I don't think it'll get there based off of speed. I don't care if Nemechek and Kusser are going to be optimal this week. That is a very, very minimal outcome percentile chance. I will take my chances of playing 0 of them. Austin Doe, another tough guy to get to. I don't really like any of these guys down here. 5K, below 6K is just horrible. So if you can make your lineups where maybe Allmendinger is the cheapest you get to, that's probably where I'd feel safest. Brennan Poole will be a liability on the track. He looks extremely slow, and obviously Cody Ware is typically horrible. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys this week. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, or even if you didn't, make sure you leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel for brand new. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or check out all the extra content over on Patreon. You're able to find it. Link can be found down below. We wish you all the best. I'll see you on the live stream tomorrow. I'll see y'all next time.